guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do another video in my What I Wish I Had Known series. And this video is all about what I wish I had known before becoming a mom. I have dreamed about being a mom my whole life. I was so excited when I found out I was pregnant. But as much as I had thought about it and dreamed about what it would be like, there are a lot of curveballs that I was not expecting, and a lot of things that nobody tells you. So today I'm going to be talking about all of those things. I know everybody's experience with motherhood is different, but I hope that if you are going into being a new parent, or you just had a baby and you're kind of in that, oh my gosh, what did I just do stage, that this video is helpful and at the very least makes you feel a little bit less alone, because you're not. So I think the first and biggest thing that I wish that I had known was how difficult it is to get a baby to sleep. I knew that babies don't sleep a lot and that you don't sleep a lot, especially at night when you have a baby, but I didn't realize the actual process of getting them to fall asleep would be so difficult. There are all kinds of rules on you put them down drowsy but not sleeping, and you have to use the white noise machine, and it has to be dark, and give them a pacifier, and it's just it's a whole production, especially when they're really little. And when Rowan was really small, when he was a newborn, I would set him down, and the minute I set him down he would start screaming, even if he had been fast asleep in my arms for a half an hour. So that was definitely a challenge for us. We did work with a sleep consultant, and also took the taking care of babies courses and talked to our pediatrician, and I think, knock on wood, that we're mostly over the hump of that, but I didn't expect that part to be so hard. I was kind of prepared for short periods of sleep and the baby waking up and not sleeping a lot myself, but I didn't realize how much of my day would be spent trying to put him down for naps and trying to put him down for bed. Another thing that I wish that I had known was how much I would have to cut back on work stuff. I took 3 weeks of maternity leave, which was not nearly enough. I'm a freelancer, so I couldn't just leave my clients hanging. But I wish that I had prepared even more work than I did ahead of time to take a bigger break, and also that I had let some of my clients go before having a baby, because especially in these trying times, Matt's working full-time from home. I'm working pretty much full-time from home. So it's we're both working full-time, but we're also full-time parents, and it's just a lot to try to squeeze your work into little moments when you can, when the baby's napping and all of that stuff. I think I overestimated the amount that I would get done because I have always been somebody who finishes their tasks very quickly, but with a baby it's harder because your focus is constantly being pulled, and then you're having to refocus. Then your focus is being pulled and you're having to refocus. So a task that would normally take me an hour might take me 3 hours because I'm, trying to put him down for a nap, and then he's up, and then, I'm hanging out with him, and then he's back down for a nap, and he wakes up from his nap, and I have to try to soothe him back to sleep, and it's just a lot. On top of that, I wish that I had known how real mom brain is. I think I talked a little bit about this in my What I Wish I Had Known About Postpartum video, but still, mom brain is real. It is the constant feeling of walking into a room and forgetting why you went in there, but for everything. And that can make it additionally challenging to take care of a child and take care of yourself and get your work done. I don't really know if there's anything that you can do to help with that, but I kind of at least wish I knew it was coming again, so maybe I could cut back on stuff and free up some more mental space. Another thing that I wish that I had known was that it is okay to be frustrated with your baby. And I say frustrated, but I mean internally. Obviously, you don't want to express that frustration to your baby, and shaken baby syndrome is real and scary. So if you are in that place, you're gonna want to get some help, ask for help from your spouse, from your family, friends. You might need, medication or therapy, but I'm just talking about your run-of-the-mill, why are you being such a little right now? It's you always love your baby, but sometimes you don't like them very much. Sometimes you're you've been screaming for an hour because you're so tired. Why don't you just go to sleep? There's a solution, just go to sleep. And it can be really frustrating. And I think that at first I thought that made me a bad mom. And the more I've talked to other moms and the more I've kind of settled into my own journey with motherhood, the more I've realized that I'm just human, and getting frustrated is a part of being human. And, I love him so much, and I'm always, I make sure I don't talk to him sternly or yell at him or anything like that. But sometimes inside I'm and that's okay. That's very normal. Another thing that I wish that I had known was how your relationship changes. Matt and I touched on this quite a bit in the video about just like how life has changed since having a baby. But it is difficult to find time together because especially in the beginning, you're kind of just taking shifts. So it's like one person's taking care of the baby while the other person's sleeping, and then you switch and you're kind of like ships in the night. And it's been really important for us to prioritize time together, and it's not always easy to do because we are running on empty. And sometimes at the end of the night, it's like, I know it's 7 o'clock, but I just want to go to bed. But taking that time to check in with each other and communicate that we're still on the same team, even though sometimes we get frustrated, like about the division of labor and that kind of stuff. It's just been important. I think your relationship deepens in a lot of ways and you love each other in a new way. Like seeing your partner become a parent is the coolest thing. But it does also bring up a lot of challenges because, you're low on sleep, and especially if you're breastfeeding, you might feel like, oh, why am I always the one taking care of this baby? And there's not a whole lot your partner can do. But just, constantly communicating has been key for us. And I think that's what's kind of seen us through and will continue to benefit us the older that Rowan gets. This is my pet peeve. I wish I had known how much unsolicited advice you get. I do think I'm a little skewed on this because I do put my life on the internet, and so I get a lot of strangers on the internet telling me what I should and shouldn't do and getting mad at me for certain choices that I make, etc., because that's how the internet works. But even from friends and family, you do get a lot of unsolicited advice, and most of the time it's very well meant, and it's coming from a place of love. But it can be frustrating and it can be invalidating that other people don't think that you know what's best for your child because you're, their mother or their father, and you do know what's best for them. And so, you've got people saying, well, you shouldn't use a pacifier because he's going to become dependent on it. And you should be using a pacifier because otherwise he's not going to be able to see themselves asleep and you're never going to get any sleep. And like both sides will get mad at you if you do one thing or another. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. Something that I've had to institute is kind of just a like no advice policy. If I get comments on videos and stuff that has unsolicited advice, I just delete them. And this doesn't apply to the people who are just like being very sweet and are like, oh, I did this with my son and it worked. You'll know if I'm talking to you. People find joy in knowing more than others and in being like, I'm right, you're wrong. And that's the kind of comment that gets me. So those are the ones that I just block out. You have to keep focused on your own journey and what you're doing for your baby because you know them better than anybody else. And a stranger on the internet isn't, gonna know more about parenting your kid than you do. So I've been talking a lot about how difficult it's been with like sleep and stuff. But one thing that I do wish that I had known is that it gets so much better after the first month and then after the second month. I feel like the first month is survival mode, and the second month you're kind of figuring it out, but sleep is a struggle. And then once you get past that, it gets easier until you hit the 4-month sleep regression. But it's kind of just a waited out kind of a thing, because when you're frustrated and your baby's not sleeping, or they're dependent on the binky, or you're having a hard time transitioning them out of a swaddle, you got to remember that like they're not going to be 5 years old and still swaddled. Like it will pass. The time will pass regardless of like any kind of emotions you're having or how you spend it. And a lot of issues resolve themselves. So remembering that there's light at the end of the tunnel and that like you're not going to be in the situation you're in that's frustrating you forever. My pediatrician recently told me that after 6 months, sleep really does kind of tend to start solving itself as far as sleeping through the night goes. It's still something we're working hard at, but I am looking forward to that milestone. I also wish I had known that I didn't have to do everything by the book. I'm a very type A person, and so I did all the research, I read all the books and the blog posts, and I kind of had a plan for everything, and like, okay, this is gonna be his schedule, which now I laugh at, of course. And this is how we're gonna do nap times, and this is what our views are on, pacifiers, and like when we're starting on solids, like baby-led weaning versus purees and all of that. And sleeping is a big thing. Obviously you wanna practice safe sleep, but sometimes you just gotta let your baby sleep on you a little bit. And in the end, all of those things are nice to know, but you gotta do what's right for you in the situation that you're in. A key example of this being pacifier. I was terrified of nipple confusion. I was like, we're not gonna do the pacifier until 4 weeks. That's what all the books say, is you wait 4 weeks so they have a good nursing relationship. And it got to the 3-week mark and we were like, we need the pacifier now, because he could not calm himself down. And so we gave it to him. It helped immensely. And I learned afterward that nipple confusion is like a big scary thing that is talked about a lot in blogs and books and stuff, but it is so incredibly rare. Like, I read an article where the pediatrician said that in her like 20 years of being a pediatrician, she had never once seen a case of nipple confusion. And I thought that it was like this inevitable thing that like, oh, if you give them the pacifier too early, like they're definitely gonna get nipple confusion and it's gonna mess with your breastfeeding journey. So it was nice to know that that wasn't really, a huge issue. We started giving him bottles, very occasionally, and it's been fine. And I wish that I just relaxed about it a little bit earlier, because I think we could have saved ourselves some very stressful nights. I also wish that I had known about postpartum anxiety. This is kind of, a heavier topic, and if you're experiencing postpartum anxiety or depression, I want to start off by saying you're not alone. Definitely seek help, because it's not your fault that you're feeling the way that you are. But I heard a ton about postpartum depression, and so that's kind of what I was on the lookout for. And I didn't have any of the symptoms of postpartum depression, so I was like, I'm fine. But I didn't feel right still. The first few weeks were fine, and then after that I started noticing I was very anxious. I was having some intrusive thoughts of like, oh, what if this terrible thing happens to the baby? And like, I kind of couldn't turn them off. I would obsess about really small details about his schedule, really stressed me out. And then I followed an Instagram account called Psyched Mommy. I'll link them down below because I think they're an incredible resource. And they did a whole series on intrusive thoughts and postpartum anxiety. And I was like, what? Like, that's a thing? I had never heard of it before. And after finding out that that was a thing and that I had it, I was able to start, kind of working on some coping mechanisms. It's still definitely, a journey for me. The last thing that I wish that I had known was just about mom guilt. You hear the term mom guilt thrown around a lot, and I thought that I kind of understood it. I was like, oh yeah, you feel guilty for not doing the right stuff, blah, 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 blah. But I didn't realize the reality of how that would feel. There are days where I feel like I'm not doing anything right, when I can't understand what he needs and he's upset and I can't calm him down. Or if, all the laundry isn't done and I have work piling up and he didn't get any tummy time today, and you just feel so crappy. I think, especially because I have a more flexible job, I'll say, I feel a lot of responsibility to be like the primary caregiver, and that is through no fault of Matt's. He is so willing to help and do everything all the time, but I felt like I'm his mom, like I should be the primary caregiver, which is an antiquated and sexist idea. But part of it is because breastfeeding, and they do need you a little bit more. But I felt an immense sense of guilt over not being able to do it all myself. I felt like I wasn't good enough, that I should be better at the mom thing, that I should know what he needed all the time. And it's been a difficult process to change my self-talk and kind of let that go and realize that when you become a mom, I always thought that you would feel like, a mom with a capital M. Like you would feel like this entity, this new role, like almost like a new person, because you view moms in a certain category, and then before you're a parent, you view yourself outside of that category. But when you become a mom, it's just you. It's still you. Like, you don't magically get any superpowers. You don't all of a sudden have all of this wisdom and experience, and you're still human and you're still going to make mistakes, and that's okay. And I think there's a lot of pressure on women, especially on social media, to try to have this image of like the perfect family. And that's why I always try in my videos, like when he's crying and I'm filming, like I'm not going to cut that out. Unless you literally can't hear me, because I want you to know that it is still a struggle and that it's difficult. And if you are experiencing that, you're not alone. So that's all she wrote. Literally, that's all of the notes that I have in my planner. This is the last video that I have planned on what I wish I had known. I do have a whole series on this, so if you want to know all of the things I wish I had known about breastfeeding, about postpartum, about giving birth, I will make sure that I link all of those down in the description below. But if you guys have any other video ideas that you would like me to do in this series, any specific topics that you'd like me to talk about, please let me know, because I do really love this style of just sitting down and having some real talk, and I'd be happy to film more. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you lots. Please remember that you are a great parent. I'm sure you're doing the best that you can, so give yourself some grace. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.